Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Let's pull some Void Shards today. So, as you can see, the portal's purple. So we've got a ×2 Void Shard summoning event. So you can see here we've got a 1% chance and a 16% chance of pulling epics and a 1% chance of pulling legendaries. I've got 25 on my, what account am I on? On my Galek account. And I think I've got about 35 on my Kale account. So let's pull both of them. Just before we get into that though, guys, a bit of a channel or account update for you. I'm 5 fragments off Supreme Elhain on both of my accounts. I'll show you it on my other account once we log into it. So all I need to do is, all I'm working on right now is, which event is it? None of those. It's not the champion chase. It is the champion training event. So it's broken up into 2 lots of fragments. One sort of early on, and then another lot of 5 later on. I'm just going to go for this 5, and I'm going to leave it at that. So I'm going to do some champion training today on both of my accounts and start sort of grinding out some of my champions. On my last video, I pulled Nethril, so I'll be leveling him. I'm not going to level him to 60 or anything like that because I've already got one on both of my accounts, so I don't need another one. I said in my last video, he's a good champion, but I don't really have a use case for him on my accounts. So yeah, so we got that going on. And then the second thing is, in the background throughout the week, I've been working on completing faction wars. I really want Lydia now. So as you can see, I've got 877 out of 882 on this account, and I've got something very similar on my other account. So all I really need to do, if I'm just having a quick look, all I need to do is beat the Lizardmen faction wars or crypt on this account. And I've got a bit of work to do on Undead Horde on my other account, I think. But we'll double check that when we get when we move on to that account. So what I'll do, guys, I will quickly make some room because I've been doing champion leveling and I've been getting champions through that, you know, the sort of normal trash champions. So I'll make some room and then we'll pull these Void Shards. Right, so let's get into it, guys. So 26 shards. I am hoping for a Krizia, Krisk, or Sifi. You know, I like to dream big. I like to sort of aim really high, and then no matter what happens, I can be sad about it because there's no chance I'm going to pull any of them today. So let's get into it. First 10 pull. Any legendary, any void legendary for me will be a win in my eyes. So here's hoping. That's all I can really say about it. So we've got Rowan, Runekeeper, we've got another Seer, and another Eurogrim and Reliquary Tender. All, well, these 3 on this bottom row, all great champions. Seer, a legendary and an epic skin. Eurogrim, one of those champions that can solo content. Did get a nerf, but I mean, can still solo content. I've tried to build one, but I don't have the gear that you need to be able to solo content with this guy. Maybe once I've done faction wars, I will be able to rip all of that gear off those champions that I don't really use in any of my main teams, and then use them on Eurogrim. Reliquary Tender, I've leveled to 60 on my Galek account, and actually a great champion, really good champion. I use her in Doom Tower. I use her for the spider. I can't remember the spider's name, but I use her in that to cleanse my champions. And then the guys on the top, never used, don't really have much to say about them. So, moving on to the next temple. Let's go. A legendary, please. That's all I want. Just one legendary. Painkeeper, great champion. Warcaster, another great champion. Both used for Clan Boss Unkillable teams. Painkeeper with a Man-Eater could be that champion that gets you into... no legendary on that. That gets you into your first sort of budget unkillable, and then I use Warcaster on this account actually in line with a Helicap to be able to be a fully unkillable team. Renegade, another one of those champions, probably should be an epic or a legendary in a rare skin. So she does the reduced cooldown on your active cooldown skills. So she lets you do those things like use Seer twice in one go. So you can clear a wave, reset with Renegade, and then clear another wave in dungeon content or Doom Tower content, and then another Reliquary Tender. So we'll just pull the random 6. Here's hoping a legendary in that 6. You never get a legendary just from pulling shards on their own, but I'll give it a go. That's a rare. Another rare. Not what we want to see. Her specs. Oh, there's a bit of a pause there. I thought it might have been legendary. Vanguard, not used him. Didn't even use him in my Faction Wars team. Daywalker, never used Daywalker. Not used in a Faction Wars team. Another rare, another Reliquary Tender. That's the third Reliquary Tender on this ball. Not for me. Well, she is for me, but I don't need another copy. And another rare. How disappointing. So, no legendaries on this account. What I'll do, guys, I will log into my other account. I'll quickly show you my Supreme Alhain and my Faction Wars progress, because I really want that Lydia. I really want Lydia at this point. Well, yeah, I'll go onto my other account and we can have a look at that one. And here we go, guys. We're on the Kale account. So I'll just quickly show you Supreme Alhain, 95 fragments. So I've only got 5 more to go. So again, I'm going to be working on that champion training so I can get the 5 fragments. And then Supreme Alhain we've got in the bag. And I can keep her actually because she's a fragment summons. I can keep her till the next event, so I can use her as a champion chase in my next fragment summon or fusion. And then just quickly on the Faction Wars front, so we've got a little bit more work to do with my Kale account. So I need to be able to beat the last stage on Undead Hordes. I'm really struggling with Undead Hordes. Maybe that Sifi that I really want would come in handy for Undead Hordes for that revive, but at the moment I'm just really struggling with the right champions. I just don't have a great roster for the Undead Hordes on this account in particular, which is bizarre because Undead Hordes have some of the best champions in this game. And then the other one is my Dwarf Crypt. So I'm going to work on this as soon as I've stopped making this video. So all I've got to do is beat that last stage, and Dwarfs are done. So I'm using Cornelia as a bit of a cheese. And I've got Herndig and champions like that, and I've got Geo, so I should be able to do it. I think I just need to do a little bit of gear tweaking, a little bit of crowd control in that last stage, and then I should be good to go. I think the reason I'm struggling with this one is because it's the stage where the boss ignores defense. So I'm really struggling to be able to keep turn meter down, and it can just take out a champion, all my champions too quickly. And I don't have a reviver for the faction, so that's one of the issues that I'm facing. But I will be working on that as soon as I stop making this video. So that's my Faction Wars progress. 877, and I need to get to 882 for my Lydia. As you know, guys, I try and keep both of my accounts at a similar stage. I just try and work on them. Both targets for both accounts are pretty similar most of the time. So I wanted to be able to one key Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss, for example. So I did that on both of my accounts, and my target was to be able to do both on both accounts. Maybe one day I'll drop one of my accounts if my YouTube account becomes really recognised. I might just stick to one account, but for the moment I like having 2 accounts, and it's the right time sync for me for what I like doing. So let's get into these Void Shards. 35. Let's hope for a Kryzia, Krisk, and Sifi, just like on my other account. They are the dream champions for anyone pulling Void Shards, I'm sure. So let's get into it. First 10 pull. This is the account where I pulled, what's his name? Why can't I remember? Warlord. I pulled Warlord on this account. Still haven't built him. Still not a legendary. Fortis. I don't know anything about Fortis. Is Fortis the champion? Isn't very good. He might be. Let's look at his kit. So he's got attacks one enemy, has a 35% chance of placing a fear debuff for 1 turn. This attack will always be critical if the target is under a fear or true fear debuff. So I presume his kit is going to give him the ability to put everyone under fear, so then he always crits on this attack, or for the majority of the time he crits on this attack. His A2 attacks all enemies, has an 80% chance of placing a true fear debuff for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be resisted by targets under fear, so we need to put fear on them, so we need accuracy in his kit. Otherwise he could be, we could just build him with full attack, so he has crowd control and he is a damage dealer, but we'll see. Attacks all enemies, will ignore 30% of each target's defense against targets under fear or true fear. This attack is always critical against targets under true fear or fear. So he's meant to be a nuker if the champions are under fear, which potentially he can put every champion under fear and then nuke them. But if you have to put accuracy in his kit, which I'm just trying to quickly read before I say it, if you have to put accuracy in his kit, then he can't be your sort of true damage dealer. So you might need another champion that can put fears on, so then this champion can be a damage dealer. So the damage of this skill increases by 10% for every fear or true fear debuff on the enemy team. This skill has a 40% chance to be unlocked for 1 turn whenever a fear or true fear debuff is placed on an enemy. So he can do this multiple times, in theory, a 40% chance of doing it multiple times. But if you're putting fear out on 5 enemies, then I guess there's a 40% chance of doing this attack 5 times, I would assume. But it's an interesting champion. I think to really utilise him, you need a champion with high accuracy. So maybe in the arena. So you have a champion with high accuracy that can absolutely land the fears or true fears. And then you can swing in with this guy after and nuke them down. But an insane looking champion. Doesn't he look insane? He looks great. I love that sort of look. Maybe I could have done with this guy in my faction wars. I've really struggled with Knights Rev. So maybe I could have done with this guy a bit earlier on. But a Void Legendary. And Void Legendaries, guys, there's a smaller pool of them. So if they're going to get buffed, it's more likely, if you have one, it's more likely that champion will be buffed than the bigger pool in your normal affinity legendaries to be buffed. So he's got increases the chance of enemy skills failing by 15% when those enemies are under fear or true fear. Prevents this champion's death and keeps them alive on 1 HP when hit by a fatal hit, then removes all buffs and debuffs from this champion. After preventing this champion's death, fully heals them and fully depletes their turn meter. Then has an 80% chance of placing a fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. Finally, places a sleep debuff on this champion for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be resisted or blocked. So I guess the sort of theory is you can build him full damage, but you need another champion that can do fear, and then he can nuke the people down that are under fear or true fear. Yeah, so yeah, it's what I thought. And then he has an aura of crit rate in all battles by 25%. So if he's your leader, like he could be in arena, you don't have to build him with a full 100% crit rate. So that's Fortis. I got a legendary. I got a Void legendary. I'll take that as a win. It's not any of the top 3, but I'll take it as a win no matter what. Let's hope RNGesus is looking down on me, and I pull another legendary in this next lot. So let's go. No one else of note on this one, so we'll just start pulling on the second one. You know what I would take as well? I would take a Man-Eater. I've never pulled a Man-Eater on this account, and just so I have him. I don't need to use him. I've got a wonky Ultra Nightmare team now. I don't need a Man-Eater, but just for the sake of saying I've pulled one, I want one. So nothing of note in here again, guys. Another Relic Tender. I don't think we got her on the last pull, but I've got her leveled on this account as well because she is such a great champion. And then no one else of note. Skimfoss is I've recently been watching Hell Hades free to play videos, and he's built out Skimfoss, and he thinks he's a really good champion, and I agree. You know that man knows more than me about this game, but it's not a champion I've ever built out. So on to the next one, the last 10 pull, and then we've just got 5 shards on their own. I don't think I'm going to pull another legendary, but it's always worth the hope. Doomscreech, a great champion. I didn't build one out. I've never needed one. I would only ever use him for faction wars. And I got a Seafy. I don't have words. The best champion in the game, I think, probably. Maybe a Crizia is better. I've pulled a Seafy, everyone. I'm lost for words. Well, let's look into Seafy's kit, because this is a champion that I need and have wanted since day one. So Seafy comes as a pair with... I don't have words. I'll talk about the pair in a minute. So Cp's A1 attacks one enemy, has an 80% chance of placing a sleep debuff for 1 turn if the target's turn meter is equal to or above 50%. Heals all allies by 5% of their max HP if the target's turn meter is below. So either way, she has a chance to sleep if they're going to take a turn, and if they're not going to take a turn, she heals your whole team. That's a win-win situation to me. And then this increases once she's ascended, so it can't be resisted. So you have an 80% chance of sleeping and it can't be resisted. So you don't need to put accuracy in her kit. I knew that one of her skills you didn't need accuracy, or I knew she generally didn't need accuracy. So yeah, ascend her, and then she has an 80% chance, 100 when booked, of putting champions to sleep. It's a no-brainer, isn't it? So in arena, you've got your big nuker on the enemy team that's going to take a turn, and then Cp can just sleep them, and then it doesn't matter about them anymore. So then, on array 2, places a block debuff on all allies for 2 turns, then fills the turn meter of all allies by 10%, and places a 60% increased defense buff and a 30% increased speed buff for 2 turns. So you get all the good buffs. That's all the good buffs. You don't need any more buffs than that. Basically, she blocks debuffs so your enemy can't put any on you. She increases the defense so you can take a smack, and then she increases your speed so you can try and cut in and beat people in the arena. And then on the A3, she has revives a single ally with 55% chance, 50% HP and a full turn meter. Places increased attack and increased crit rate buff on them for 2 turns. So I don't see her often in go second teams, but if you're a go second team and you're nuker, which is Rotus, if you want to be in an ideal situation, if it's Rotus, he goes down and he comes back up. You can build him with less crit rate, and she's guaranteed to give him 30% more crit rate, so then you can put more damage into his kit. And then on her passive, she heals each ally by 10% of their max HP at the start of their turn, has a 40% chance of removing freeze or fear debuffs from each ally at the start of their turn, removes all debuffs from Rotus because they're a pair at the start of their turn, and if they are on the same team. So crazy to be paired up with Rotus. Rotus is one of those champions that can absolutely nuke your whole team, so she can just keep him alive and keep him going. And then her aura is 80 resistance in every battle, in any circumstance. So having 80 more resistance in my Faction Wars team, for example, which is what I've just been talking about, so she is going to get leveled straight away just for that, just so I can get that done and dusted. But having 80 more resistance is going to be useful in other content as well, not just arena. So I've got a Cp. I pulled 2 Void Legendaries in this, in 35 Void Shards. That is a crazy, against the odds, you know, that's a crazy amount. So I'm buzzing. I've got one of the best champions in the game. Maybe I can be a bit competitive in arena now. I don't know. But what a great champion as well. I mean, look at that. What insane champion, and is going to go really, really nicely into my arena team. Right. There is other champions of note in this pool. Got another Cold Heart. I've got loads of Cold Hearts now. Got 2 Painkeepers in the same pool and a Paragon, so you can do the Paragon cheese. Something I have done, I've dabbled with, but never done it too much. Some people rely on it, but I've never done that. Let's pull this last 5. I'm nearly at a loss for words. All I want to do now is go and level Cp. She's gonna help me with my champion chase to get Supreme Elhain, and she's gonna slot into my teams very nicely. So that's all I want to do right now. No one of note. I think that was a Vanguard again. I haven't used Vanguard. Imagine if I put another legendary now. It would be. I think I'd have to stop the video, to be honest. I think I'd have to stop the video and take 5 minutes to myself. And the last one, guys, Acrisia. Oh no, it's just a rare. Another Paragon. So there you go, guys. So I pulled 2 Void Legendaries on my Kale account. I can't remember the other. I'm so caught up in Sifi now, I can't even remember the other champion. Where are they? There we go. So I've got Fortis, who his kit looks good, but I don't think it will work. I think if he was built with no accuracy requirement, then it would work really well. Maybe he'll get a buff in the future. I think he's quite a new champion, so maybe he'll get a buff in the future. But I might need to look at. I might eat my words. I might need to look at some guides. But to me, he doesn't seem that great. And I got Sifi, one of the best champions in the game. Maybe even top 3 champions in the game. So a pretty good result for me. Let's just while I'm on a high, let's pull these mortal stones. I'll put Sifi in my wish list because why wouldn't you? I have her now. There we go. Sifi in the wish list, and let's pull this 10 and see what we get. The soul stones. I'm getting to a point now where I've got blessings on most of the champions that I want them on, but I'm going to keep pulling them. A legendary, a Hegemon. I mean, I didn't quite get a Hegemon. I think that would have probably, I wouldn't have been able to speak if I pulled a Hegemon, but I'll keep that blessing just in case. I don't have a Gore Grab on this account, but he is one of those champions that I really could have done with in the faction wars for the Undead Horde. But here we are. And then a couple of other ones. I'll use Ursula, so a blessing would be good for her. And I think if I do that, and I buy this Immortal Stone, we can pull that as well. I'll take a Sifi blessing. Not quite though. A Maiden, Perfect Soul, 4-star. That'll be sold straight away. I'm not going to use it. There we are, guys. A Sifi and a... Oh, God, I keep forgetting his name. What's his name? Let's have a look. What was he? Night Revs? Fortis. A Sifi and a Fortis. Can't get much better than that. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.